Okay, who's the chair? Ara is the chair. The secretary.
I am secretary, yes.
Okay, you.
I'm Secretary of Defense.
It's
Secretary of
recording
State.
now.
Secretary of Degeneracy.
Yeah, no, I'm going back.
Hi. Hello, you look tropical today, lady.
Actually, you look pretty good. That's a good shirt. Is
My
that
English also floral,
You look like Ibu Ibu now. You look.
With Toby, I think, yeah.
Hey, I watched Bumi Manusia. I didn't see you in it.
What?
I watched Bumi Manusia.
Is Ara there?
Were you in that movie, Ara?
Who says I'm in the movie?
I didn't even know.
Somebody told me. Maybe Eka told me. Yeah, Eka said that you were in Bumi Manusia.
No, I think my boyfriend is Brahman.
Your boyfriend was in the movie?
Yeah.
Which guy?
The one that the guy with the Arab clothes. The first time.
Okay, don't remember.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready to secretary.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Where today?
Okay, all right.
Are you going to share the screen or should I share the screen?
Usually, Mr. Secretary would share the screen, right?
Good luck with the.
It's okay, I can
Okay,
share
all
the
right.
screen.
Take it easy, huh?
Okay, cool. Bye, thank you, yeah. Go. Alright. All good?
Okay, already recorded, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
How are you guys today?
Doing good.
Good.
Okay. Hopefully everything's good. Okay. So Saturday the 5th, we're going to discuss about hiring, university relation, innovation, and else. So can you zoom, Mr. Secretary, would you please zoom the paper a little bit? Yes, thank you. Let's go to the first point on the hiring. It's the old business from Pita.
Yeah, the on-site trials conduct. So Jing already got back to me. It was like offline, right? Maybe.
We talked here.
Yeah.
Kuldeep's right here right now. It's kind of funny to discuss it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that up here. I will put a link as the secretary onto the Leadership Guild. And okay, the heart of the matter is this: that essentially we do sponsor people that we think are in it for the mission. So the difference between Kuldeep and Hendra was Hendi. Should probably say his name right. The difference between Kuldeep and Hendi was essentially their reason to be here. In Hendi's case, we could see that his reason to be here was purely transactional. That it was something to do with salary and lifestyle, whereas Kuldeep gave off a very different impression. And so ultimately what we want are people who really, really fit the vision. And also there was the discussion in the Leadership Guild about relative inconvenience. So the relative inconvenience of somebody traveling from a further direction against, I would say, the tendencies to find employment closer by is a bit higher than the relative inconvenience of somebody just coming from a shorter radius. So in that particular decision, that's how we made a judgment on that one. The other part was about rare talent. There are certain talent categories that it is extremely difficult to find people who have the competencies in those areas. And for those cases, I think, like I said before, keep a lookout for special cases because we do need people with the special skills in order to accelerate the growth of the company. So all in all, the senior people in this company will all discuss it and we found that it was fair. The only thing that was left actually unanswered was what should the relative salary be? And so we agreed in the end that it should be the same pay for the same amount of skill sets, but there are skill sets that are going to be harder to find and less available. Okay, so that's back to the chair.
Okay, so Pita, is it clear enough for you? Shall we delete it from old business?
Can.
Okay, so yeah, Miss Secretary, please delete that from old business.
Oh, but I also want to highlight something. I want to highlight that Vita brought up actually a very good condition of stepping on toes. This is a perfect stepping on toes discussion because it is fundamental, I think, to moral hazard, to imbalance to fairness, and that's a lot of what HR is about. So if you do realize there's these imbalances, or why is this being different, I think we need to discuss it. There are going to be more of these cases along the way because we are going to hire a lot of people that we don't know what their conditions are, and people have the highest amount of diversity of anything. So we need to start, I think, really. Instead of ignoring it and saying, "Hey, that's like an elephant in the room. We won't talk about it." Let's confront it and arrive at like a common understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this village
Okay. Yes.
that old business, and then go to the next old business. It's the one from Jing about you graduate. So, sir, do you have any
The video.
feedback on that?
Oh, let's see. All right, I sent this as a content request weeks ago. Let me see if there's any new development on this. So I don't think so. Devanda, I think, is working on this one. This is essentially we all went there, right, to the UGM Career Days, and this is supposed to be a summary video of that. I think this is kind of disappointing. We have so many people on content, yet this video is so stuck. So I'll ask Devanda what's going on. Yeah? But yeah, it's a little bit like more people, slower results at the moment. Okay. Let's leave that there until we get the video produced.
Okay, so next one is about employee onboarding from Huta.
So this is just a heads up or FYI on the newest roadmap of on-site trials. So basically here, what we have is here. So it's basically we created like what are the activities that should be done by the candidates, but instead of we put that into time, like okay, you should do this on this day and then time. So we just give them all in the first day, which is like, let's say, the orientation day, and then like we told them like what they need to do and what they need to finish by the end of the on-site trials, and then starting from the second day of trials until the last day of the trials, all of these agendas should be cleared out. At the same time, we could also assess their time and also project management. So this is an FYI, which also I'm doing right now as part of my OKR for other chapters as well.
Okay. Okay, sir, please.
Oh yeah, just an update. So Kevin has been actually dismissed from market building on-site trials due to uncertain motivation about actually preparing and studying for his program. So yeah, especially for the pitch. I would like to actually ask Vita,
Yes.
is there anything that we could have done to understand, let's say, Kevin's motivation a bit earlier during the trials?
So based on that, actually, it's been delivered or addressed during the second interview because Ara heads up to me for the second interview on that he's actually applying for other jobs.
Yes, I saw that.
So
too.
on my second interview, I go around that question. So I ask him like, so what will be your consideration in terms of, let's say you're applying in Sony, you're applying in other company, and then also if Sony accepts you and then Bukit Vista accepts you, what will be your consideration to take one of them? And he said that he wants to learn in startup environment, and also since Bukit Vista is in Bali and his wife is in Bali, so he would choose Bukit Vista. But I think that's not enough. Like, I mean, still like, I mean, the candidate could answer anything that pleased us, but we don't know like actually like what's in his mind, right? Things like that.
Okay, all right. Would we have any new sort of red flags or green flags or anything based on that experience now?
I think that the red flag would be like for someone who is actually looking for a job is not necessarily back again the vision fit and the survival things.
Okay. I've also, if I can, I see two big risks here. So there's let's see if anybody else sees it. Does anybody else see two risks in a candidate that has revealed that position about themselves?
Industry risk.
Okay, there's an industry risk, right? Because we do something completely different from what Sony does. What industry is Sony in?
What is it? Speakers and music.
Tech?
Kind of entertainment. I
Yeah.
would say,
Yeah.
yeah, mostly like personal entertainment devices. Actually, they don't sell entertainment; they sell the things that you entertain yourself with. Okay, so it's a
Yeah.
very different industry. What is the second risk?
Uh, motivation risk, no?
Yeah. Okay, location, because he hasn't decided Bali area yet. There's another one that's really strong. Sony is a very different type of company than us. They're a definitely more. It's a company type risk. So if he says he's really interested in startups, why is he applying to some? Go ahead.
I asked the question as well in the interview. So he just said he explained that he applied for Sony like in back in March or something, and then still like ongoing with the process. And then he said that like 2 months ago or so he met his friend, and then his friend took up if he is looking for earnings.
Got it. Okay. There's another risk I just detected from that. From what Vita just told me, I detected the third new risk. What's that risk?
Inconsistency.
It's a new type of risk. It's actually, but it's very, very applicable to a market builder.
Communication skills, no.
A little bit, yeah. It's a related communication. What is it? You think?
I think it's
The
related
pitch,
to like the way they could implement. Apa sih namanya kalau bahasa Inggrisnya kalau nggak konsisten like
Not consistent. Okay.
consistent in terms of his motivation. So
Okay.
how could he pitch if he is not sure about what he knows? or
Okay.
What he wants.
Okay. Inconsistent in pitching. All right. All right. You had a thought too. What was that?
For my counter, due to the communication skills, I think what I detect was so I sent him papers to study before days before the on-site trials, and then I clicked on the speed check and opened the paper yet, and he actually didn't.
Yeah.
Like the -1.
Yeah.
And even not, he doesn't even open all the papers.
Yeah.
So some papers be open
Yeah.
when at the next time on the outside files.
Got
And
it.
I see there's a detection of not executing. Because like
Yeah.
I noticed and I did what's it? I have this judgment. I don't know if it's right or not, but if somebody is really interested, no matter how busy they are, they're going to open it in the exact same day.
Yeah. Bias to action, right?
Yeah, when the day that I sent the paper, but he didn't. So that was the detection that I noticed that the motivation, the lack of motivation on being in there.
Okay. There's another indicator of a lack of motivation, and it's not even just for us. It's just a general lack of motivation. What is that detection of general lack of motivation?
Is it the one that he applied many companies? That's company risk though. But also the way that he applied to many companies with the different different types is actually showing that he doesn't even know what exactly he want to do. That's related to motivation, right? And if you actually open the cards, his card on Trello, I have only one con, which is exactly that. I already mentioned in the very beginning that this person, if he ever resign, it must be related to that.
Motivation.
This is a many company.
Okay.
I'll just wait. Never mind. So this one I stated here that he's currently applying to many companies, even the related to tourism and business marketing industry, but it's like so diverse. So in Boba and Sugar, this could be risky too.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly what I defined.
This is actually pretty interesting to me because it's actually related to his process with Sony. So he said that his process with Sony began in March, but it didn't finish yet. So he's not closing a deal. He's not closing a deal involved in his own job. And so then that relates back to if he's not going to close a deal for himself, for his own job, is he going to close a deal out there? So is he going to leave deals from March unattended for half a year? And that is actually a little bit of that's actually a strong red flag for me. If you won't close a deal on your own job, on another opportunity that you're running for, it means that you don't have the motivation to push through. you sort of expect everything is a shallow kind of just low-hanging fruit. And if the fruit gets a little bit out of reach, then you just don't really move decisively towards getting that fruit. And I mean, that could be a little bit more permissible. Not really, but it's unforgivable, let's say, if it's in business development. So I think we can take that as a strong red flag. If we see that in the future, probably no need to continue the interview process, because that generally leads to the result that we've seen. And that is if this is the head behavior, this is what the tail will look like. So we can just pull it out from the head. Make sense? Okay, great. All right, good. Probably should write that down. Okay, back to the chart.
Okay, so shall we delete that on the old business? Is it already done? So Mr. Secretary, we could just delete that from old business.
Okay, should we delete it, or should that go? Do you want to keep on running that, Vita?
I already put that on site trial.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, so now get back to the new business from me.
That's me.
Yeah, it's me. So I'll see you. Okay. So hi guys, I've been something just happened. Not something, but like I've been noticing about the discipline of the employee here.
Oh, okay.
But it's just particularly about him, and I already confirmed to other team members that it's been going on for quite some time.
Okay.
So concern first one is that about the punctuality at the base.
Okay.
I actually started this pretty flexible. Like, okay, you can come at 11, you can come at 12, but you still have to have extension for your working hours. Right?
Yeah.
The part of your responsibility of doing your work. So
Okay.
that will work for 9 hours. The agreement is 9 hours per day.
Mhm.
Okay. I am trying my best to actually tolerate. You can come at 12, but you have to go home at 9.
Mhm.
That's like started at 12. But the thing is that in this particular case, he's not having some extension hour
Okay.
for time, and also that my concept is that he doesn't leave with a notification in advance.
Okay.
I think it's really necessary to be part of the culture, right? So if you wanna go later, if you wanna go like you're gonna be late, I think it would be highly valued if you give heads up to another of the team member that hey, I'm gonna be late or whatever. But in this particular case, he's always giving heads up after I ask.
Mhm.
So, oh, it's been 1 hour. Where are you? It's been 2 hours. Where are you? And then he get back. Oh yeah, right. I'm sorry. I'm sick and today actually I'm sick and I get back to
Okay.
net and blah blah blah.
Okay. Got it.
So in that particular case, maybe you guys all in a certain have advice to me on how exactly should we deal with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For me, I think we must just like have a talk with it to evaluate what we do, what it does, and impact to the future to the future.
Okay. No, I haven't. Okay. Okay.
I think
Okay. So Bubu says about warning.
yes.
Now maybe do you have any other thought?
I think you should try to. No, I mean, you should, since you're. I'm gonna also actually add on this one because I have one concern as well. So if my idea is actually to have like let's say a paper like for a record like how many times you actually ask him for him being.
I did.
Okay. So
Actually,
then,
the first one when I told Jing about the punctuality, Jing said that okay, just put it on his journal to state that you're late, whatever.
okay.
Yeah, I already did, but it's again. So
So then, I also have one thing to add as well. Like, then I think it's also add up about that because me, Gani, and him is doing Instagram team, right? Like something for the Instagram. So, I'm as the last person who create the copywriting as well as to post that on our Instagram, kind of like facing the not really like actually difficult because it's still like on the deadline but quite slow. So I needed to actually remind him like twice, or I think it was like twice until he finally puts that up into the thing. So maybe that could be added to the journal, and after that to have a talk with him, and then after we set a deadline for let's say the next 2 weeks, if it's still going on, then going for the next warning or something.
Okay. So from you maybe.
All right. I think this is actually quite urgent. It needs to be addressed immediately. So this is a failure of motivation, right? This is a failure of motivation or understanding or finding some way to actually bring yourself to work. And in a almost sinister way, it could be also another form of dishonesty, which we're kind of detecting in Nawfal's trajectory sometimes, like with catering, all these weird little things that have been showing up. So the fastest way to remove this is to actually this is his first paycheck, so we'll essentially put this in. We'll say that we're seeing that you're actually not exhibiting any LI characteristics, right? You're not a strong follower, you're not following core values, and you're actually not thinking about how your influence affects the next person, which is Daniel. So you have a contamination issue now. So you have a person who is essentially behaving this way, leading another person who's behaving this way. There needs to, I think, be a stronger delegation pathway too. As HR, you got to think about, all right, is Ghani exerting enough leadership influence to control this situation? Because he's the most senior, he's the most senior content person there, and Nawfal will be looking towards that person to understand where his relative place is in the pecking order of things. So that part needs to be set really clearly by Ghani's behavior. Is Ghani showing up on time?
Yeah, Gandhi showing up on time.
Okay, so it's very disrespectful, I think, as a new person who's been here for less, who's still under probation, to actually care less than whatever. But it's also very revealing, and that's part of what we're trying to learn through probation. You can fake trials, you can fake a few days, but it's hard to fake 90 days of probation being what you really are. We're examining these issues, like with Yvonne, for example. So I'm going to be much more strict with this. Essentially, the next action I'll take is I'll put in his private journal that we've detected that these are constant issues. And if he's taking off time or whatever, it could show a lack of motivation and integrity. If you are here to learn, like he said he was, then what are you learning, all right? How urgent is your learning process if you're actually skipping time from the best opportunity to learn? If you constantly be reminded, where is your motivation? Remember, motivation is the second most important thing, right next to integrity in terms of the people we hire. So if we detect flagging motivation, I think just be ready to say, hey, look, this needs to improve, or that is it. Okay, so that becomes a very strong thing. The hard part, the reality is, motivation is not something that will necessarily change when there are external factors. It really needs to change for the internal way. So either he gets it and it starts looking different, or he doesn't, and we'll have to do something different then. Okay?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
you have a contamination risk right now, Ara. You have a very strong contamination risk of essentially a more developed candidate influencing a less developed candidate. And this candidate's behavior is a manifestation of an internal thought process. And that thought process is no sense of urgency, no sense of maybe mutual respect for their team, and a high sense of self-entitlement at the moment. So these are unspoken, but sort of how would I say? They're almost like a fragrance. Yeah. It's coming off, and this gets smelled by everybody, right? And unless you put that smell to a stop, and this person publicly admits or somehow puts a clear message out to the rest of the team that, hey, look, I'm sorry, I'm going to do this because da 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 da. Nawfal has been in the exchange habit of, because I'm married, I get this. Because I'm married, I should get this. You should pay for my groceries so that I can support my wife with my grocery money, with my lunch money. It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. So people also been detecting that because like it becomes of always the major reasons on what happened. So it's always been about the family.
Yeah. So this is a person who is standing behind their family and using family as a shield rather than standing in front of their family and being a shield for their family. So that is also beginning to smell like integrity, right? So I would urge this. The best way is just to be transparent. Tell this person this is exactly what we think today, and this needs to stop. When you shine the light on this, then there's nowhere to really hide anymore, right? We're noticing this. It's not like invisible. So shine the light on that. And today is payday, so I will put it on his personal journal too as well, so that he is aware. Okay? But yeah, this is probably one of the most urgent things you need to work on right now. Because if you don't, then the next person, Daniel, who's the new candidate coming in, will be affected, and then you'll have a chain of improper expectations for what correct culture and correct behavior is. Okay?
Okay, so I should have one-on-one with him as soon as possible.
This might not even be a one-on-one. This might be a public thing. I think this could be a public thing. It's not private. It's not private because what you're trying to stop is contamination, right? You're trying to stop essentially this type of behavior becoming normalized. And all it takes is just one person to start doing it. And then everyone else is like, well, this guy's junior, then how come he gets like this special thing?
Should I like gather everyone and just
get everyone and say, hey, look, these are expected behaviors and this is what it means. When you are on probation, we expect you to actually show more commitment and show more determination to succeed here. So we should see high amounts of motivation. Currently, these are the things that we see that indicate low amounts of motivation. Showing up late, blaming these things, and these are behaviors that we will not tolerate any further. And just be very clear about that so that that part is understood. And make sure that the person that doesn't quite get it acknowledges that they understand. And then that, once again, puts a spot beam on the situation and it eliminates any more hiding. It's being transparent.
So are you sure that it can be like delivered including the family in front of everyone?
I think so. I think this needs to be clarified. Because if you have a one-on-one, then Daniel doesn't know what the one-on-one was about, and he won't know what the ideas are. So this is an offense between not the person and you, or the person. It's really an offense between the company and this person. So that type of issue needs to be resolved as a company and as a person. If this isn't resolved, then you will have a sequence of culture that certainly decays and decays and decays. If I had to go back in time and fix Squad 1, this is exactly what I would have done when it was starting to get more, sort of willy-nilly. And we would not have the deficits that we see right now in behavior, right? So, yes, definitely, this is not a one-on-one. This is a public statement. And just go out, express. You already know what is right. You told me what is right. So just tell that to everybody else.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So, the secretary, we should just put that on the old business.
Okay. And when we put that, Ara will follow up and let us know what happened.
Yeah. I will follow up to the next thing up, which is on Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, very good.
8th of October on how people react or what happened. Okay, so go to the next one. I don't know. I put it in inspiration because it's urgent to actually ask. So me and Pita has been trying to set up about the Halloween party, and currently me and Pita have constantly addressed to Jing. So one, it's pretty urgent, is about the how many attendees in total that you think is going to join Halloween so that we can make arrangement for this party.
All right, so this is the discussion that I had this morning. We think it might be actually better to have 2 Halloween parties, one in Jogja and one in Bali. The reason for that is, once again, we don't want to have one torch where all the culture is. We want to have essentially 2 torches. So each office should kindly develop their own methods of how they're going to commemorate events and go through that cycle. Even if it sucks, even if it's not that great, at least then we had that learning experience. So, but that's kind of contingent on one thing. That's contingent on somebody able to organize the event. And the best person is you, Ara. So the question is, actually, can Ara organize her own Halloween event in Jogja? Or can Ara... so that's like kind of the pivot factor right now.
Okay. Can I put it, if I actually arrange the Halloween party, can I put it on my OKR?
Yes, that is a cultural event, and that's a part of what we call passing the torch. So much of what we do sometimes is that we don't pass the torch. we essentially just become the fire, and the other person doesn't necessarily learn how to actually create their own fire. But if we can, let's say, transfer the flame, and we start essentially the own rebuilding of the culture from a different perspective, then we don't necessarily have to always have these emergency operations all the time, right? We go over to try to save the Jogja team, go over to try to save the Jogja team. That it has its own way of generating its own cultural reference point, and it has its own way of having its own immune reaction to for situations like where the culture is going bad. So yes, you can put it on your OKR, and I think it's a pretty big challenge. You got 2 events this month, one with the SAP. But once again, we're putting you as project champion, I think, but you can delegate, right? And it sort of starts getting you into practice. You got a pretty big team there. There's seven people in that office. So think about who can actually work on this too alongside you.
Okay, sir. So the party.
Yes.
I don't know. Like in Bali, we have this culture that we're going to have like what is it? A place to rent the part to actually arrange the party.
Yeah.
Have villas. So can you actually give me what is it? The raw pictures on how do you see a project Halloween party here? Are we like going to have like staycation in somewhere, or is it like gonna be a night party?
You can do a few formats if you want, right? So this year for the Bali party, we most likely will have to change the format. Before, the party was about like going to a villa, going out for drinks, going out for dinner, kind of going out in the street, and then coming back to the villa at the end of the evening to relax. But because we are a pretty big team now, and there's actually a lot of things we can just do with each other, we decided to shift the format to a stay-in party. So we're going to do it at Villa Chantique, just up the road, and we're going to essentially kind of create a carnival. So each booth will have each type of thing, and there's going to be like all these different simultaneous little stops along the way. So we think that format is a better use of the current space and also the current size of team that we have. So that's a variation. What you guys can do in Jogja is you can do the old routine, right? You can kind of like go out and pick a spot, maybe Rumah Budi Susanto, maybe something Pendopo Dua Nam, rent the place, dress up in costumes, and just go around and sort of just have an evening time off.
Yeah.
It's actually quite beautiful to have a small team again because it's easier in some ways to be more agile and pick out what that is. So, but let's put it this way. In the Bali side of the business, I would see it as about 20 people. And what is the budget for the villa? Well, whatever it costs. like whatever it is to rent out all of Villa Chantique is what we're going to pay for that. And probably we'll also have to pay an event fee because it's like a one-night booking and they'll have their thing about it. For Jogja, I don't know, like maybe $100, $200. You guys can fit everybody into a single property if that's possible. I don't know how much Budi Susanto is. I think it's like 100, right? But okay. Anyway, that's where I currently see it. Is there any more discussion about it? Or are we ready to make a decision on that? Yep.
Okay, so the final choice is that we're gonna separate, right? Bali and Jogja.
I think so. Mhm.
Okay, so if I said yes, then I'm gonna be administered the Jogja one,
Mhm.
and then so could I like move the arrangement for Halloween, and then like I came to you to actually deliver the budgeting for the villas and the event, or are you gonna say to me that the budget is like this and like
Start with a plan first, I guess, and then we can provide the budget. It should be pretty flexible. I think you can get it done with, let's say, a cost per villa and then a cost per head for the night. So I would say anything that's around 200 to 300 per person for the evening should be okay. So drinks, dinner, party, whatever you want to do, costumes, within that budget is okay. If it's a little bit more and it's reasonable, I'll say yes. So don't worry too much about the budgeting or the logistics or the planning. Think of a narrative. Think of like what you want people to experience, how you want them to feel, and then it should be fun. It shouldn't be like oh my god. It should be really just like going out to a villa and spending the night as a guest. And it doesn't have to be fancy or whatever. It just needs to be like Halloween, yeah. And it can be watching a movie maybe.
Malam Jumat, Ben.
what?
Group date.
Malam Jumat. Halloween malam Jumat.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Kliwon nggak semuanya?
Okay. Okay then. So far, maybe Mr. Secretary, would you please put that in the old business
Yeah.
and mentioned me that I will come to the next thing up about the update of the concept of Halloween party in Jogja.
Okay.
So, so I'll be handling the one in Bali and Ara in Jogja.
Yes, that would be good. That'd be a good division of duties.
Okay.
Maybe I can
So
also.
maybe Mr. Secretary would you also please mention Vita
Okay.
and come up to the updates about the Halloween party. Oh, also, babe, benefit, we're just going to have the same theme, yeah? Different location, but
Yes,
the same.
same thing.
Can.
Okay, yeah, because sir, me and Vita already think about a theme for this month is Pennywise house.
Yes, I heard about it. It's Halloween.
Yeah, it's Halloween. So yeah, it's gonna be. I think. Oh yeah, guys, and also that I motioned to actually deliver this theme to all the team member by the next thing up.
Yes, I think so.
Why not all hands?
Yeah, the next all
Yeah,
hands.
all hands. Yeah, next all hands. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
So it's gonna be Monday. So maybe I'm gonna put content request about just a simple poster about its house.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And then also, do you need any costumes or logistics to be arranged now? Because I can start ordering stuff to be delivered to Jogja.
Yeah, actually, yes, sir. Do you have any
Do you
suggestions?
need any? Well, okay. What sort of costumes would you want to imagine yourself in? Zombie costumes, clown costumes,
Since it's Halloween, so it's gonna be clown theme.
crazy clowns. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, crazy clown.
Where can you get clown costumes in Jogja? Or
Well, I'm gonna look up for it first. Maybe I'll get back to you in the next
okay,
episode.
we'll look on Wikipedia to see what we can find and start making shipments over. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. Cool.
Okay, so go to the next one. It's a new business about the university relation for me. It's about the STP. So maybe Mr. Secretary, would you please open that? I already make scraps about the STP, the fair. Okay, so I already make some concept in the help of Google, and then the objective is very raw. That we want to raise basic brand awareness. We want to attract many students as possible to visit the booth, and then we want to hopefully there are some students that going to apply for job and internship.
Ah. Okay.
So I've been thinking about the theme, big theme of the decoration of the booth. And who came up with the idea of together we provide the best travel experience to support the growth of the Indonesian tourism sector. So the booth is supposed to be look like multinational, multinational working place, which we are right now. Because like last year, it looks like tropical things, right? So this year, I wanna make it look like we are a multinational company that have an international mindset of working. So okay, so we probably need a printout banner. I need you guys in HR, everyone in HR team to add up some ideas if it's possible about everything that delivered in here. The decoration setup is not fixed yet, so maybe Mr. Secretary to go down a little bit. Here are some idea about. So I want to make the booth is as engagement as possible with the visitors. I don't want to make it so passive that we just deliver, but there's no interaction. So one of the interaction that me and the have is that one maybe we have like charts. It's actually here. We want to know how many people that we get as a visitors to our booth, right? But having a registration via paper is just so last year and boring, and it takes a lot of time. So one of the things that we can do is that from here. So we the idea is that we are going to have 5 jars in the booth, and then it's actually stated based on the continent that is exists in the world, which is that, and then we just as simple as ask people to put a coin on which continent we want to visit most, and then by the end of the job fair, we can actually just count by how many coins that is inside the jars. So that is the number of the visitors. So first, it's very efficient in the terms that we can count on how many visitors that we have, and second of all, it is really attractive to the visitors that it can make them involved in whatever that is existing in the booth. And then that's the first option. The second option is pretty much look like before, but it costs more because we have to like print out the whole maps of the world map. So the thing is that it's the same question. Where do you want to travel? So people is going to put a sticker on the banner, like which part of the world you want to travel, and then we just count from the map, like how many that we got so far in this day. Maybe we can adopt both things, but in a different day. So like maybe the jar is for first day, this one is for second day. And then the third option that I came up with is that spinning wheels. This one is probably not gonna administer every time. Maybe I'm gonna have like schedule like maybe 3 times a day, 5 times in a day. So some visitors can actually play with spinning wheels and then see what they get. Like can be notebook, can be mug, it can be anything. So yeah, it can be fan, can be staycation or whatever. So yeah, pretty much maybe that. And then the fourth option is about the staycation. I don't know if it's possible to offer the staycation, but if this one is not related to spinning wheels. It's more on. So we set up a photo booth in the booth, and then just ask them to take a pictures in the booth, upload it on the Instagram, and then let's see who's gonna win the most attractive pictures and the most attractive captions to actually get the staycation. So yeah, I think that's pretty much so far the option. So this one I completely maybe I need you guys to vote and to deliver your ideas on what do you think about 4 options that I already stated on the paper.
Fantastic. Wow.
Okay, maybe start from Jing.
All right, so I think we can actually do most of that, and plus maybe some more too as well. I definitely like the jar idea. I think it's actually a good thing. Coins might be difficult because we'll have to give a lot of coins, but use beans or whatever else, and yeah. So I think that'd be cool. Just need to work out the logistics of how to actually make these jars or how to find these containers. But I think these should be fairly simple. Okay, the second one on the map I think is good. That's always a classic. Everybody gets very involved in that and very hands-on. So that part is cool. We have noticed that certain areas you should probably make a little bit bigger. I do not imagine a lot of people will want to go to Africa for some reason. It usually is all over Europe and all over like Africa, Australia, and all over Japan. So on those ones, what we learned in the past is they're too small and they get just overcrowded with things. I think with this, what we can take a pivot from previous years is expression. People want to express themselves. So more opportunities for expression is essentially what people like. You can have just essentially walls and backgrounds that say, you know, how would you improve hospitality? How would you make, what would you want to do on your first job, right? Where's your dream first job? And just allow people to express themselves using markers or whatever it is, and that part attracts the crowd, and the crowd attracts more crowd. The spinning wheel is a logistic thing, and there's not too many ways to. I mean, that kind of thing can be done a little differently. I've noticed spinning wheels even at career fairs we go to are fairly low engagement. You need to get a big crowd there. Once the crowd is there, then yeah, you can spin the wheel for the prize, but it might actually be tricky to implement. And I like the idea of the photo booth too as well. I think the end result should be something to do with our online community and building the online community. So that's my first pick. Okay.
Okay, maybe go Peter.
Yeah, I have a idea for your jar option. So my idea is like instead of them like putting it just like effortlessly, oh I want to go to Australia, let's say, but we don't ask them where they want to go, but like we ask them like try to like to toss like the bean, let's say, and see where it lands, and that's gonna be your destiny where you're going to goodness, like kind of like praying like proficient and something like that.
Okay.
And maybe like for option number 2, what I'm thinking right now is like instead of the world's map, it could be just like Indonesian map, and then we see like we ask them where do you want to go in Indonesia, and then from there we can actually go like see maybe we should expand there because like a lot of people wants to go there.
Okay.
Like something like that. Yeah, and then like for spinning wheels could be like I have no idea actually about the spinning wheel, but I do like this photo booth, and they should upload it on Instagram, follow us, and tag us or hashtag something like that.
Okay. So then, so far, from these four options, I'm gonna probably drop the spinning wheels, and then for the common request that I'm gonna apply is that one, print out the maps, and then also the second of all, print out the
Oh, the
corner
spinning wheel, you can do a game wherever there's the butt. No?
for for print out for the staycation. So maybe that maybe Google you can actually add options or any other ideas. Okay. So yeah, maybe pretty much that's it. Oh, may I know when exactly, what date exactly? it's gonna
17,
be?
18. 17 and 18. So we'll fly you over mid-month if you want to come by to do that. Do you want to come?
Really?
Yes. No. No, I'm kidding. No, yeah, of course. I mean, if you organize it, I mean, you should
Okay.
have the option to attend.
Okay. So yeah, 17. Okay. I'll set. So I have deadline now. So yeah, 17, 18.
It's easy, Ara. We've done it already. It's not like a.
Yeah.
You can
But like,
probably get the playbook from last year.
what?
I think we wrote this last year.
Remote this?
No, we wrote this already last year. I think we have an entire rundown and an entire
Because
list.
that one was Bastion, so I don't have any files about that, sir.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So okay. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So far.
I think what we need to prepare fast is the door prizes this one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, longest time to prepare.
Now I probably need to delegate that to the one in Bali. Is
Yeah.
it content?
Huh?
Is it gonna be content things to do, or who do you think I can delegate this to?
We just need the design, right?
Yeah, but who to order the one in Bali? Is like I'm not in Bali.
Can contract it, and then content people will delegate to who create the design, and then after that we get the design and look for the vendor.
Okay, yeah, I'll work it. I'll work on it and have to contact. Okay, so yeah, can you maybe that's it so far. Mr. Secretary, we could just go back to the main paper. I'm good on the old business, and also can please, Mr. Secretary, I will get back to the next thing up about who to delegate to make the door prize.
Okay. Yep. I'm working on it now.
Okay, so go to the next one. It's hiring, I think, and it's from me. The point is that so I already actually put it on the HR team WhatsApp group about my concerns to the finance role. So yeah, we have some stack up in the pipeline right now in LinkedIn and also in Trello, and I don't know if I should process that. How is everybody's thoughts on this one?
Okay. What's your stack up?
We have like finance, we have like senior accountant people that waiting to be processed.
I see. Okay.
But from risky end, I heard that he doesn't have enough bandwidth to train people. Like
That's
for
not
the-
right. Okay, that's exactly that shouldn't be the case. Okay, risky if you're gonna move on to a more senior role should actually be moving out of PCI work and more into project work. And hiring and training people is project work. So I think what I'd like to have is actually to have better tests. I think we can up the bar now on finance. So we're looking for somebody to actually design a financial flow system. So what we're looking is currently, let's say for example on our booking stuff, we have a lot of transparency in what's happening on booking. We know when guests are arriving. We know the guest lists are there, the booking pace is there, the weekly sales are there, the monthly. So we have a lot of transparency on the bookings. We do not have a lot of transparency on cash flow right now. So where is cash flowing? How many people got this? How many people got that? Where did all the cash wind up eventually? Currently, it's like, who knows, right? So essentially, the person we're looking for at this point is somebody to help us design that flow. And that, I think, can be an accelerated, that can be a challenge. It's almost like a bounty, right? Can you actually understand how to create the flow and how to actually process it? If you can, then you can get a job here because we need somebody who can do that. Once we have cash flow transparency, I think it'll be much easier to manage all kinds of other things. Okay, so in terms of that backlog, right? Okay, risky. Give it to Gigi.
What do you mean?
Give it to Gigi to process on the first interview or the technical interview. He's still a consultant. We're still paying him for a few months. So let him keep on doing this. This is backup in case in case the probation candidates don't work out, in case something else happens. This is one of the weakest areas in the company right now. It is the least automated and it has a high tie-in with community management. So this process shouldn't stop. We should just selectively look for more skilled and more capable candidates. Carlo was going to come here for on-site trials, but he needed to go back to the Philippines because he had something. But in the meantime, pass the candidates over to Gigi and have them do second interviews on that you think are okay.
So Carlos in the Philippines.
Carlos in the Philippines, he will be coming back after he had some family issue he had to go. But he says he's coming back, so I'll choose a group for him. Okay. Meantime, the most urgent hires right now are in market development because we have a pretty good operations team right now. They're working on ways of improving the processes, but our inbound funnel, if I can relate to if you go to bigger stats, on the MB side is where we have the slowest amount of growth right now. And we're sort of stagnating, which is normal. It's what we sort of expected during the peak season, but we're going to need the most number of people coming in for market building right now, and this will give us the longest span of time to train, develop them, and deploy them out. So please hire as many market builders as you can. Yeah? Okay. All right.
Okay, so maybe go to the main paper and Mr. Secretary, who should put that in the old business. Next point about BB try again. I think we already discussed from the previous topic. Supposed to be in the old business, right?
Yep.
And so Mr. Secretary, to please put that in the old business. Maybe we have any updates too about the BB try again.
Nope. That's pretty much it.
Okay. So I think we covered everything so far for today. Is there any further discussion that we need to discuss so far? Yes, sir?
Below BV try again are these new orders of business. Oh wait, sorry, that's part of BV try again, sorry. Never mind. Never mind.
Back to you, Chair.
So yeah, we covered everything so far. Does anyone have anything to discuss or new updates about anything that haven't been written on the paper?
Good.
No. Okay. So if we covered everything, I'd like to nominate for the next chairperson.
Yes.
So the next chairperson is supposed to be Bubu,
Yes.
and then the next secretary should be Vita,
Yes.
and then the next recorder should be
Ara. Change
Oh.
the date.
Yeah, the date should supposed to be Tuesday at 8 of October. And also, guys, just want to let recorder knows that every time we upload a video, please attach it to the BPHR video index. You see in the bottom of the table, there's this meeting documentation.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's been a long time not updating the link, so that it will be easier to anyone to check out the link. Yeah, I've already updated the last one in that. Yes, sir.
All right, take a survey for yourself how you did on leading this HR guild.
Oh, sir. Okay, so now,
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so go to vote.
Oh, well, go to Boo Boo first and ask him for a 1 to 5.
Okay, so Boo, you give me score in 1 to 5 on how well do I administer this meeting as a chairperson. Which score would you score?
4.
Okay, 4 for Boo Boo, and then to Pita.
4.5. To make it 5, just for every chair, maybe like to remind everyone to come to the singkap.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, thank you. To Jing.
4.5. But I want to also actually give you this too. This is a big improvement from previous times. I remember before you were far less decisive. You hesitated a lot, and that creates that overall sort of group hesitation. Now you're more decisive. You got us to finish 5 minutes ahead of time, and you just chop right through one thing after the next. So that type of decisiveness is something that is a big, big improvement from any other time that I remember you chairing. So something is working. There's some growth happening there. One more thing, if Boo gave you a 4, definitely ask him why and what you could do better.
Okay, yeah. So if you give me 4, what can be improved?
I think you must improve just like when you recognize the people that say, just like you can say very much as, for example, okay sir, because in this room we already have two men that you must have,
Oh,
okay Mr.
okay.
J is like that.
Okay, so
Yes.
he kind
It's
of.
just small
Okay.
small thing.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so should I would like to motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Okay, thank you everyone to
Bye.
come to the meetings, and then I'll wait for the link, yeah, to be updated for the recorder.
Have a good lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
thank
too.
you.
We had lunch already. Bye.